Merry Christmas, everybody. It is that time of year. We're just a couple days out from the big day, and I am fired up. We got family coming into town and all kinds of reasons to celebrate this year. And so it's just been a fantastic year, and I'm excited that we get to do this special, what I'm calling Christmas episode. So I think it'll be good. I'm gonna share with you today 12, not 12 days of Christmas, but I'm gonna share with you, I think, my 12 gifts of Christmas this year as I think about it. And I want to do it a little bit differently because this is really not just going to relate to me. I think it'll give you a little insight into me, but I'm going to turn it back on you and give you a chance to think back through, reflect maybe on some of the gifts from your year. So I think this will be good. So thanks for listening. Thanks for sharing. You guys keep hitting that subscribe button and those download buttons. It's awesome that you do that. Comment to us. We'd love to hear from you. Love it anytime we get a chance to interact with you. It's fun. And next week will be our last episode of the year. So it's been a really good year. We'll talk a little bit about look just a little bit back on 2021, but we're going to be looking into the future and see if we can't get a good start. And then we got some cool stuff planned for January. So I'm excited about that. It's good to be with you this week. As always, if you hear something you like and if you know somebody who might benefit from it, well, I hope you'll share that with them and continue to help us grow the cast here. So the podcast. So this is good. All right. So and when I think about the 12 things that I am really thankful for right now, these are not necessarily any kind of order, although my wife asked me to put her first on the list. So I'm going to start with my marriage. I really am thankful for my wife, Laura. So we're going on 35 years. This next year will be 35 years we've been married. So I'm already saying 35. I'm not planning on going anywhere, and I hope she doesn't either. I tell her all the time, if she ever leaves me, I'm going with her. So I think it's safe to say if we're both here, I'm planning on being with her through this next year. And this last year has been really great. There's several things that I'd have you think about if you're married or if you have plans to be married. I want to, on this Christmas episode, I'm going to refer to Jesus at the end, but I'll start with my marriage. And I've always said that marriage, for those of you who want to live your life like Christ, or you want to be a God follower, and some of you I know do, and I hear from you all the time. I appreciate that. But I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Marriage is I think the best classroom you're ever going to have to learn to be selfless. I'll just say it that way, so it'll hit the whole audience here. But to be Christ-like, if you want to think about it, Jesus is the one who taught us about servant leadership and servant leadership to be selfless. And so you're going to get a lot of chances to live last if you are married, if you're planning on getting married. And so I would really encourage you to understand just how beautiful that relationship can be. And so mine's been great this year. It's been fun. There are a lot of ups and downs. You can imagine over 35 years, it's like a roller coaster sometimes. There are no perfect marriages, but my question for you as you think about that gift of that relationship is, are there places in your in that relationship in your life right now where you need to learn something, or a place where you need to be more selfless, or a place where you need to learn? So that's one of the gifts of the year. As I look back, it's marriage. Closely related, second on the list would be, in my case, that I get to be a parent. And so that's a lot of fun. We have 4 daughters. I don't talk about them a lot on here, but I'll just tell you, they're grown now, all married, off the payroll. That's fun. But as I think about those girls, and just watching them now, some of them, one of them is a parent, two more are about to be parents. They're all 4 married. Watching them, these relationships, it's just been such a gift to my life as I've reflected on this year. The idea that really God allowed us to parent these 4 daughters. And I think it was, through the years, people have asked me over and over, don't you wish you would have had some boys? And truthfully, as I look back, I think God knew exactly who we needed to have, and personally for me, that I needed to have some girls. And so it's been so much fun to be a girl dad. Hashtag to all the girl dads out there. It's it's different than being a boy dad, I guess. I don't know. I do have a grandson, and it's fun. Him, he's a little over a year old now, so that's a lot of fun. A couple more grandkids on the way, so that's all been awesome. But it's been so cool to have these kids, and in my case, these girls who have been like sandpaper to sort of rub away some of my rough spots. So that's been good for me, and I've learned so much. I've messed up so much. If you're a parent, you can relate. You've probably messed up a lot as well. But I would just ask you, as you think about that gift of parenting, is there something that you need to learn right now from your kids? And is there a way that you can add value to your kids in a special way? I think marriage and parenting, both these first two, I would just give you my question. I ask myself all the time is, how can I live my life in such a way that the people who know me the best love me the most? And you've heard me say before, I've been around so many leaders. The people that know them the best really respect them the least. They don't love them the most. And so many times it's hard for the people around me to love me. I can tell you that. But as you think about your closest relationships, maybe your spouse, your kids, are you giving them a reason to respect you, to love you, to have a relationship with you? Those relationships that are closest to you are really going to determine a lot of your joy, your happiness, all those things in your life that really matter. So maybe those gifts are something you need to think about here. You'll have maybe some extra time with them, or maybe you're away from some of your loved ones this Christmas, and this would be a good time to reach out in a special way and let them know that you're thinking about them. And hopefully you can be together and, sit around a table, have some meals, and exchange some gifts. But the biggest gift is just those relationships, really. Another gift, number 3 on my list right now, again, no particular order, but I would just say my health. I'm very grateful for my health. This year has been just been a really good year in so many ways. I did have a health crisis about 6-8 weeks ago. I ended up getting COVID, and it was pretty bad for a few weeks, really. Got pneumonia with it, and so that was not fun. But it really just reminded me of how important my health is. I'm so thankful that I was healthy going into that. I think it would have been much worse had it not been. It was bad enough as it was, and so it just reminded me that there are so many of us, if we're not careful, we can take our health for granted. And so I just want to encourage you to understand just what a gift your health is, and what a gift it is to yourself when you exercise and you eat right and you do the things you're supposed to do, the things you can control. So many times we neglect those things, and if we're not careful, it can hurt us. And so just again, I'll just kind of turn them back on you here as I think through my gifts. I'm just reflecting a little bit, but as you think about your health, your fitness, some of those things, are there some places where you need to make some adjustments going into this next year? It's really important. And so you only have one body. I encourage you to take care of it. You want to be around for those kids and grandkids as they get older. And there's lots of cool stuff you'll get to do in the future if you'll take care of yourself. So you don't get to control how long you get to be here on earth necessarily, but you do get to control some of the quality of life that you have between now and the time that you'll leave Earth. So I just want to encourage you to just be grateful for your health, take care of your health, do the things that you can control, and let's be fit to lead. A lot of you are leaders, and so just challenge you to be fit to lead. My health issue back October, November reminded me of this next gift, and that is the gift of friendship. I had so many people who reached out. A few people knew what was going on. They reached out, texts, calls, food, all kind of crazy, creative ways to bless us during those days. And it was really cool to just realize just the importance of friendship. There were so many people that reached out, just even in an unexpected ways. People that I didn't even know, probably were thinking about me, and they had heard. And I think when you get into a situation where things, are challenging or hard, who really cares about you by the way they reach out. And so think about your friendships right now. Are there some people in your life who have been there for you this year? They've been there for you maybe for many years, and people that you really feel endearment toward. And if so, I just encourage you to maybe pick up the phone, give them a call, thank them for ways they've blessed you this year. I had this morning, a couple people had reached out, and I just had a chance to just send a text back today and to say, hey, thanks for all you did. And just a couple of things that had shown up in our home, and and then they just responded back real quickly. And so, you know who's thinking about you when you get into a hard situation by the people that show up. It's almost like the old, we talk about sometimes, I've heard before that, weddings are optional, funerals are mandatory. What does that mean? Anybody can show up for a wedding. That's a time of celebration. It's a great time, fun, dancing, vows, the whole thing. That's great. But funerals, who shows up when things are hard and when you're in grief or when you're a challenge? Thankfully we didn't have a funeral, but it's just good to know that there's some people that show up when things are hard in your life. And so your friendships are really important. Maybe this next year is a time you need to double down and be a better friend. I think a lot of times you'll have more friends if you'll be a better friend. My mom always told me, if you want friends, be a friend. You've heard that before probably. Your mom probably told you that too, or somebody early on. So that's been important. Another thing I think that I take for granted sometimes that I would just encourage you to do, maybe even a little self-inventory here, is the next gift on my list. And I would say it's the gift of quiet. The gift of quiet. There was a guy named Paul who back in the Bible days, he wrote half the New Testament. And one of the phrases that he wrote that has just captured me over the last couple of years, really, as we've kind of had a different world, is this phrase he wrote. He said, "Make it your ambition to lead a quiet life." And I think that's so good for us to be reminded of the importance of quiet. And I love the fact that he would take the word ambition and the word quiet and put them in the same sentence, because they seem to just collide with each other. You're probably like me. You have lots of ambition, lots of goals, lots of things you're trying to achieve. But if we're not quiet, if we don't have times to pull back and do some inventory and do a little bit of a reality check, and just to be quiet and not even do an inventory or a reality check, just to be quiet and let our minds and our hearts settle, I think we're going to have a hard time leading in public or having anything to give if we've not, taken time to receive. I heard somebody one time describe this as like if you took a jar, let's say a mason jar, you dipped it into a creek or into a river. The water is got these sediments in it, and so it's just, when you pulled it out, it'd be cloudy. You can probably picture this as you think about it. And I like this picture that someone gave me, that if you let that set for a few minutes, the sediment would begin to settle in the bottom of the jar, and the top part would be clear. Well, I think that's what quiet does for us. I think when we take time, when we pull back, it just gives our lives that are busy, and we have all this hurry and flurry and emails and details. I mean, they got all this stuff going on all the time. And if we don't take time to stop and to be quiet and to be silent, even sometimes when, quietness around us, but no music, no phone, no apps, no, just quiet. It lets that sediment of our lives settle to the bottom. It's still going to be there to some degree, but we have an opportunity to let that settle. And I think we lead better when we lead out of a quiet place. We're gonna have chances to be loud in public, but if we've been quiet in private, it's going to give us more to say, and it's going to make us more aware of the people around us when we get into public. So maybe you need to do a little quiet time this week. It's a great time to just pull back and say, okay, let me make sure I don't get lost in all the stuff that's going on, all the parties, all the lights, all the presents, all the food, all that stuff's going to be there. Find yourself an hour, pull back and say, okay, let me get some quiet in here, so I'll be better when I have these opportunities to celebrate with the people that I really care about. Another thing I've really enjoyed this year, I'll put it as a gift this year. I mean, I could list 100 of these, but number 6 on my list this year has been books. This has been a year where I set a goal at the beginning of the year to read more books. I've had a chance this year to read over 100 books, which is, I've never done that before. I don't know that I've ever read even 50. I tried to double down, listen to a bunch of books. I've shared some of that on earlier podcasts, double the speed, audio books. I mean, there's a lot of ways to get through your 100 books. Don't be impressed. There were some things I didn't do that you probably had a chance to do that gave me some more time. I canceled my Netflix. I mean, all that kind of stuff. Nothing against Netflix, but it's just like you can't do everything. So I just said I'm gonna read more books this year. And the reason I'm thankful for it is it's almost like I had a chance every time I read a book, to spend a few hours with the person who wrote that book. And there have been some famous people who wrote those books, people you've heard of, people you've read their books. And then there have been some people that you've never heard of, people I didn't know of, or you may have, but I didn't know of them. And it's just been really cool to have somebody take the time to put their thoughts into a framework sometimes, or a story sometimes, and to just really just be able to listen and let them download and not even be able to respond to start with. There have been some of those authors I've had a chance to talk to. It's been kind of cool. But always, not always, but 9 times out of 10, I'm highlighting and I'm stopping and I'm making a note of what I'm listening to. And it's just been really cool. So the question I guess I'd have for you is do you have something where you have content intake going on? Yours may be podcasts, or yours may be conversations with people. I don't know. Maybe you don't read a lot, but maybe you need to read more. I don't know, but I would ask you, like, do you understand just how important it is to have this intake so that your mind and heart can stay fresh with new thoughts, and not just your thoughts, but the thoughts of other people? I think a lot of times when I get those going, they really help me. Number 7, my 7th gift this year had been goals. I mean, I love setting a goal. I think that's so important. When we have a goal, it gives us a target. It gives us something that we can go after. And this year, my goals have really helped me stay on track in some areas. There's some places I'll talk about in a second where I haven't done so well. I won't give you all the specifics, but I think there's some things that goals, they don't have to be accomplished to be helpful. And so, but I think this idea of having some things written down at the beginning of the year, the books would be an example of that, helped me stay on track, and I actually was able to exceed my goal, which has been kind of cool. So goals they create focus, and I would just ask you, as you look back on your last year, have you had focus in your life? Are there areas where you need a goal as you go into the next year? We'll talk more about that as we go forward, but goals are a gift. They really are. They give us a chance to just kind of set our mind on something and go after it, and I just think you have so much better chance of achieving something when you have a target for that, and so that's really important. One of the things that's been good for me this year, I'd say another gift, have been the mentors in my life. There have been people who have really, I would just say in an unofficial way, but in my mind, they've really helped me get to a place that I have a couple of podcasts I listen to. They don't even know it, but some of the things they talk about, they've helped mentor me in a consistent way. I have some people in my life who really serve as coaches for me or mentors for me. Dan Webster is one. I've talked about him before on here. We've gotten to do some things this year. We've written some books together in the past, but we've gotten to do some things together this year. And every time I'm around him, he obviously has influence on me, but there's just all these subtle times throughout the year where we talk, and he has just these poignant moments that he'll send me something he's thinking about. You need to think about this. You need to read this or listen to this, and it's always helpful. Mark Miller is another guy that really serves as a mentor for me, or a sounding board for me, and I'm very thankful for Mark and Dan, and I could list 8 or 10 more people that really their presence in my life. They're older, they're better, they're just ahead of me in some ways, and to look at them and to watch them, it just helps me. It challenges me. And so I'd ask you, who is it that you're looking to help you learn, to help you grow, to stretch you, to challenge you? Do you have a mentor? Do you have somebody that's really helping? And so this next year, maybe you need to say, I got to find somebody that can help me grow. The older I get, the more important it is I recognize it is to continue to grow. And I get a chance to spend some time with young people, and I love doing that. And every time I just keep reminding them, you got to keep growing. The best thing you can do for your future is grow today. And so let's all keep growing. Find yourself a mentor, somebody that can help you, and just go to the next level. A couple more here. I would say, I mentioned my goals. Sometimes you don't achieve your goals. Maybe this is not even related to goals, but a gift for me this year is failure. Failure has been a gift. There have been some places this year where I've tried some things, some projects I've tried, some goals I had set, some things that I just didn't. There are a couple of places where I just didn't have what it takes to do what I was trying to do, and a couple of places where I just didn't have the time it takes to do, what I wanted to do. And then there have been some places where I've blown it in a relationship, or I've had I mean, there's just all kind of ways that we fail, or I do. And one of the gifts of this past year really has been the times that I've failed. I've always had a chance to learn something. And I think failure, all of us have failure, and sometimes we just train wreck it, and we have a big chance to learn. And sometimes it's just a little failures, or maybe it's even a little conversation where you just said something you shouldn't have said, and you have to go back and say, hey, I'm sorry for that. Or you tried something and it just didn't work out. Maybe you do something and your boss comes back and hopefully you don't lose your job over it. But failure can be a great teacher. And so I want to just, encourage you to look back on some of the things this year. It's easy to look back and go, that went well, as you evaluate your year. But as you begin to think about even Christmas right now, I just would really ask you to reflect on some of your failures from this last year, and what have you learned, and how did they help you get better? And that'll kind of tie into these last couple gifts of Christmas this year for me has been grace. I love this word, grace. It's a fantastic word. You can look it up, but it basically just means you get what you don't deserve. You deserve something bad, and then you get off the hook. And so many times, even if I think about my failures, it's like I get an opportunity to have another chance, or to in the case of grace, when you think about biblical grace, you get forgiveness. It's like you do something you shouldn't do. You mess up and you get forgiven. The Bible word for sin means to miss the mark. It's that archery target. Sometimes we miss that mark, and the fact that we have another chance, or that we don't, I think God could literally just obliterate us. But that's not the heart of God. He is a God of grace, and He gives us chances. And so I don't know about you, but as I think back on my failures, as I think back on my past year, I think back on the fact that I just get to experience forgiveness. I get to experience growth. I get to learn through my failures. That's just really cool when I think about the grace. Really, the grace of God is where it comes from. And that leads me to gift number 12, which honestly I think is an important gift. Hopefully you do, but it's the gift of Jesus. I think about the Son of God, whose birthday we celebrate this week. Christmas really is about Jesus. And I think back to this last year, and I think my greatest gift that I've received, not just this year, but every year, is the fact that you're offered this opportunity to have a relationship with Jesus, to be forgiven, to experience grace, to really understand the wonder of your work and your family. I think I left work out. That was one of my ones that was up 5 or 6 ago. I think that was number 6 or 7 on my list. I'm just going from off the cuff here, but meaningful work does make my list. I mean, it's probably not. It's not the least important on my list, but it's just work would make my list. I appreciate the fact that I get to help leaders and get to work with people and get to speak and write and serve companies and all those things we get to do, consult. It's so much fun. But honestly, if we're not careful, we can think that our work is what our lives are all about. And I think the fact that Jesus gives us grace, that's one of the things that I really, I just appreciate about God. I think, there are people in the world who believe they have to work their way to God. And really, that's not what the Bible teaches. I hope you believe the Bible. If you don't, you're missing out on some really good news, because it's like you never can be good enough. I mean, God is perfect. He has a standard. And so we have a major problem because we're not perfect. And I think the best illustration of having a relationship with Jesus, or this opportunity we have, is something I heard from a writer, or read, I think, in a book one time. I'm not even sure who I'm stealing this from, but somebody talked about it like a jumping contest. And so if you and I were to have a jumping contest, you might be able to jump higher than me. I'm kind of old, and you probably, could jump a little higher than I could, which would be really impressive, unless somebody said the goal is not to see who could jump the highest. The goal is to see who could touch the moon. Well, that would be ludicrous. I mean, none of us are going to touch the moon if we jump. NBA guys are not going to, they can dunk, but the moon is like ridiculous. And this writer talked about how a relationship with Jesus is like if you had a scale of 1 to 100, you literally would you would begin to put yourself on that. If God is perfect and He's 100, Jesus is 100. You begin to look at the people around you. And go, I'm a little better than they are, and maybe you look at your pastor, or your priest, or whoever you have, and you think, oh, they would be up there pretty good. They seem like they've got it all together, which they would probably tell you they don't have it together either. But you would go, well, they're a little higher than me. But the people I work with, Randy, you should see some of them. They're a mess. I mean, their whole life is like whacked out. They might be a 30 or a 40, but I know I'm at least above 50. And we kind of play this game where we think if we're better than everybody else, we we earn our way to God, and we can work our way to God. Going back to that work mindset, and while our work is important, it's very important. The way the author talked about this, he said 99 to 100 is like from here to the moon. Everything else is just kind of relative. You got serial killers and whacked out people, and the people who are bad, whatever. You look at the bad people and you're like, they're down somewhere toward the bottom, and all the spiritual people are up somewhere toward the top. But like, really, the truth is from 99 to 100, we're all in trouble here. We've all missed the mark. And that's what Christmas is about. God sent His Son to bridge the gap between 99 and 100. And really, you'll never be able to be good enough to do that on your own. And so I don't know where you are in your faith, but I just want to publicly say that God really does want to have a relationship with you. And I love the fact that Jesus came. He didn't just come as a baby and born into the world. He grew up, became a man, taught us some great stuff, and then gave His life so that we could be forgiven. And I really do believe that He was resurrected. And Easter, we don't just celebrate Christmas, we get to celebrate Easter. And I believe He's back with God, and we get a chance to have a relationship with Him if we place our faith in Him. So, reach out if that's something you got questions about, or you want to even talk about. We'll do everything we can to get you some resources to help you head in the right direction there. But I just wanted to really talk about that. I think it's so easy to go through a year and not understand just really how many gifts we have around us. My family, all those relationships, important. My work is important. But at the end of the day, I mess up a lot. My failure teaches me a lot. And thankfully, God not only came up with this concept called grace, but He extended us grace when He sent His Son. And we'll celebrate that this week with Christmas, and I hope you will as well. So thanks for listening this week. I hope you have a very Merry Christmas. I hope you're blessed beyond your comprehension right now. If you are in those circumstances that are challenging and tough, I really hope you'll not just look around at those circumstances, but you really will look up. This is a great time of year to be grateful, to be thankful, and hopefully to pay that forward and to help somebody else who maybe they're down in their circumstances. You get a chance to bless them right now too. So let's do that. Thanks for listening. Hope you'll share and join us next week. We're gonna really try to land the year. Our last episode. We'll look back just a little bit, but we're gonna really look forward into 2022. I think it's going to be a fantastic year, and I'm really excited. So we'll see you guys next week. Love you guys.